Now, let me just say this. John Bell Edwards, David Vitter's opponent in the gubernatorial election, John Bell Edwards was a no-show at this legal forum. However, through modern technology, we're going to make it just as if he was there. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, I attended a Baton Rouge Press Club meeting, as I have a tendency to do, and I attended the one that had the gubernatorial forum, and I posed the same identical question that Chuck McMain's posed with regard to the jury trial threshold. And you're going to hear both answers. But let me just say this, and that's the way we're going to do it by way of technology. It'll be just as if the two men were in the same room to have the debate.
This isn't some esoteric issue that just affects big businesses or just affects lawyers. It affects every citizen in our state. People estimate that it essentially levies a tax, a frivolous litigation tax of about $10,000 on every family of four. It puts enormous burden on small business in particular, because experts have done independent studies and have said about 81% of the cost of that frivolous litigation is borne by small business, not mega business. It is a centerpiece of my strategy to dramatically improve our business climate in Louisiana. But don't take my word for it. Don't take the fact that I'm the only candidate with specifics in writing in our plan. Perhaps the most telling evidence of all of this is that the trial lawyers have organized because of this and are literally spending $4 million to attack me in this campaign. So take their word for it.
Louisiana is the only state that requires individual claims reach $50,000 before allowing a jury trial. Do you support or oppose legislation to eliminate or reduce the jury trial threshold?
I think we should get rid of the jury trial threshold completely. I think we have the highest threshold in the nation by far. I support going to zero, which is what the great majority of states, the rule is in their states. 36 states have no jury trial threshold. Only 14 states have any threshold. Louisiana has the highest by far. The next highest after us is Maryland at 15. And so, again, only 14 states have any limit. We're at 50. Maryland is 15. 8 of those 14 states have a limit of $1,500 or less, so virtually no limitation. This is a key reform that's necessary to really break the stranglehold of abusive lawsuits in many of our courts.
One that's a lot simpler that I think everyone will understand. I'd like to know your position. Do you believe a person has the constitutional right to have a trial by jury for civil matters for amounts less than $50,000? If you do support it, would you be inclined to revive efforts to fail this last legislative session to have that threshold lowered? If you do not support it, would you please explain why you would defend the $50,000 threshold for such trials by jury? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I don't believe there's a constitutional right to a $0 jury trial threshold. Otherwise, we would have constitutional attacks on the current system. No, I don't. And I think the system we have now is fair. I think it's reasonable and it strikes the right balance. If you've got a situation with a fender bender and $8,000 worth of property damage, it seems a particularly inefficient system where you would make 12 people miss a day of work to decide that issue involving $8,000 worth of property damage. We have good judges in the state of Louisiana. Our electorate, we're all told all the time, is very conservative. Why would we think our judges are not? And so I don't see a need to reduce the jury trial threshold. And certainly I have a record on this issue in the legislature over the last 8 years, all of which have been on the Civil Law Committee.
Louisiana is the 7th highest in the nation in terms of the number of judges we have per capita. And for every judge we only have 1 jury trial per judge per year. So we need to lower that jury trial threshold. I would fight to lower it to 0, which is the rule in the huge majority of states. We need other reforms to prevent venue shopping and judge shopping. That's a very common practice that leads to all sorts of abuse in Louisiana. We need to prevent lawyers from bundling huge amounts of campaign money to judicial candidates and thereby gaining enormous undue influence. So,
Senator Bitter?
well, I strongly support that proposal, and I won't simply hope it's brought forward. As governor, I will bring it forward in my first term. It's one of the crucial litigation reforms, lawsuit abuse reforms that we need in Louisiana. We are ranked 47th, near last, in terms of having meaningful venue requirements. What does that mean? It means lawyers can shop for favorable judges. That's what it means. They can go much more easily to judges they helped elect, that they bundle huge amounts of money for and help elect. That's undue influence, and that leads to a very uneven playing field and a lot of abuse in the court system. So I will help not only support that sort of reform, I will introduce it and help lead that effort.